Call 800-340-7091. Take my word for it. Once you've used Pure Soap, you won't buy anything else. Since 1947, Cal-Ben Soap Company has been showing consumers that soap can be tough on dirt and gentle on the environment. Buy American and stay clean, as well as support InfoWars. Visit 5starsoap.com today or call 1-800-340-7091. Well, Marty, what do you have to say?
As founder and owner for over 63 years, satisfaction is guaranteed or double your dirt back. Call us at 1-800-340-7091 for a free catalog or visit our website, 5starsoap.com. Thank you.
Thousands of Americans are facing evacuation. If you or any of your loved ones might need to evacuate, you must do it yourselves. Please don't procrastinate until they do it for you. Remember the terrible conditions of those that didn't get out for Katrina. Go right now to efoodsdirect.com/Alex or call 800-409-5633 for information on the new Evacuation Pack. It contains 2 weeks of delicious, easy-to-fix food, along with the equipment to prepare it. It's packed in a rugged, heavy-duty tote for transport. Evacuations are looming with the storms and the Gulf oil catastrophe. No matter where you live, wildfires, earthquakes, floods, and storms must be escaped. Don't be like a deer frozen in the headlights of oncoming disaster. At least prepare yourself with this 2-week evacuation pack from efoodsdirect.com. Call 800-409-5633. On the web, efoodsdirect.com/Alex.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
All right, investigative journalist Wayne Madsen, who's worked with the NSA, written for some of the biggest newspapers in the country, is our guest. Bottom line, we're only a few days into this WikiLeaks situation, reportedly documenting massacres in Afghanistan, but that's already been in the news. From your well-researched position, what do you, bottom line, think's going on here, Wayne?
Well, there's a number of journalists, long-time journalists in Washington, who are very suspicious of the motives behind WikiLeaks and these so-called leaks. It's clear that WikiLeaks has been engaged in a big fundraising operation, and the John S. Knight Foundation actually turned them down for a grant because they just didn't think that they passed the smell test. And as I say, there's many people. First of all, the job of any journalist is to protect their sources. Now, this guy, this Army private who supposedly leaked some of this information to WikiLeaks, he was outed by a guy out of San Francisco who had a relationship with WikiLeaks, who's a former computer hacker. Julian Assange is a former hacker. Now, all this goes back to the 1980s and the computer hacking on defense computer systems, which I was involved with from the government side. And all of a sudden, we have these guys pop up again. They had this group. One of the groups was the Chaos Computer Club out of Hamburg, Germany. They did real damage to national security. So I think it's significant. Today is the anniversary of the 1988 Internet worm launch that was launched on the Internet, brought down a lot of computer systems, defense, government, corporate computers. And the guy who released it, Robert Morris Jr., released that worm from Cornell University. His father was the chief scientist for the National Security Agency. Now, everybody at the time was of the opinion that this is obviously just an experiment by NSA to pulse the net to see how vulnerable it was to this type of malicious software.
And that's where that's exactly where I was going. And perhaps WikiLeaks, if this is the case, doesn't know that they're being used. But you notice that right as they're trying to pass cybersecurity, it's passed the Senate committee now to admittedly take over the web, funnel everything through the NSA, to gatekeep and to surveil. Right as this happening, we've seen the last year, Cybersecurity Command that's already been set up and operating, the Air Force has said, we're going to launch attacks on ourselves to test this. And now they're trying to use this as a way to say, oh, we've got to start gatekeeping the web to stop security leaks like this. I mean, I just see the timing of all of this, really doesn't pass the smell test. But I've also seen some good work by WikiLeaks. But at the same time, isn't that what an intelligence group or a private corporate intelligence group would do? Any double or triple agent is going to put out some good information so that the other side, whatever that side is, will then start taking the bait.
Right, you've got to establish your bona fide credentials, and that would be all part of that to give people the appearance that you're actually engaged in leaking information. Now, a lot of people are looking at this as the Pentagon Papers redux, but it's totally different because the Pentagon Papers, there was no question as to their authenticity when they were released by Dan Ellsberg. But in this case, as you mentioned, these documents are in digital form, and we know that the neocon stock and trade is forgeries and misinformation and disinformation. And I would be very suspicious of anything that comes in over the transom in just digital form.
48 hours into this, you've been analyzing the way the news is covering it, Der Spiegel, The Guardian, and the New York Times, and I see them trying to say, oh, look, Pakistan's working with the Taliban. Out of the gates, I see it being used against Pakistan, and Pakistan is in the news today saying, we find this to be very suspicious.
Well, also, I noted in the Guardian article that they went to pains to convince their readers that they paid no money to WikiLeaks for these documents, that WikiLeaks had no editorial control, were not involved with the writing of the story, and that they double-checked a lot of the information with other sources. My God, what are you double-checking? This information, you can double-check any major newspaper or any other news website and find out that the situation in Afghanistan and Pakistan is disastrous. So we're not breaking any new ground here with these so-called revelations.
Well, that's like the lithium story. There was a Russian report from '85. There was a 2001 and 2002 U.S. report. They knew that lithium was there. They know there's trillions of oil there. What did you make of that supposed leak that we were really there for the lithium?
Well, I think there's a lot of people that would then say, oh, well, we have to be in Afghanistan because we need access to these critical national security resources. Yeah, I was very suspicious of that, as I'm suspicious of any time there's a discovery of oil or some other critical natural resource like coltan, which has allowed the U.S. to increase its military presence in Central Africa.
Wayne, I want to be specific, though, because I don't know Julian Assange. He seems like he's done some good work, but I respect you. I respect the John Young from Cryptome, and I've seen most of what you've talked about, unfortunately, has come true. So I know you're a really good source. And I believe that you believe you have well-founded reasons to not trust them. But going back, are you specifically saying that this Julian Assange guy is a famous hacker involved in going after U.S. military computers in the 80s?
Well, this is the background of the WikiLeaks group. One of the principals with WikiLeaks has been associated with the Chaos Computer Club in Germany. I think the fact is that these people travel around the world. They say there's government agents after them. Though I think that there needs to be more transparency with this organization. Well, their comeback is, well, we have to be secretive because of the information and the people we're dealing with. Well, if this private Manning is any indication of how they protect their sources, they're dismal failures, because this guy's looking at years in prison because he was outed by one of these people that was associated with WikiLeaks. That's not how an investigative journalist deals with their sources. They go to great pains to protect their identities, and so far their track record gets a big fat F.
What about the provenance of these documents? Young pointed out they had digital signatures on them before, that they were actual physical documents, scans of those, and that this disgorgement of 92,000 plus documents breaks with two things. They're entirely digital. They're text. They're not copies of paper. their digital text. B, they didn't disgorge them to the public first, as they've always done. They went directly to powerhouse mainstream media establishment groups like the New York Times that helped lie about yellow cake and aluminum tubes in Iraq.
Oh, absolutely. I think with the track record of the New York Times and the track record with Der Spiegel on Iran, I think we have to be very skeptical. Now, to be fair to WikiLeaks, they were criticized before for not engaging the media, the journalists, but I think they went the other direction here.